I'm Sophia, and this is the ultimate podcast for celebrating all things wonderful about our beautiful island. Welcome to Destination Cyprus.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Destination Cyprus and the first of our summer episodes. Before we get started, I wanted to thank you all for your support because we're only recording episode 6 of the podcast today, and our views on YouTube for each one of the episodes are already in the thousands, as are our downloads on Spotify. So it's great to see that we're building a community, and please do keep sharing the podcast. Follow and subscribe on whichever platform you choose because that helps the podcast and the guests grow with the community. Now, I think you know by now that we like to invite guests into the studio when they have in their own way created ripples either in the economy, our society, the way we live in Cyprus, the image of the country. And of course, today's guest is no exception. I met him when he was fresh into university, and our conversation was based on things that I had seen that made me think, okay, this guy is very, very pioneering, a little bit disruptive, and I wanted to know more, and there was potential for a cooperation. And I remember meeting him and thinking he's going to achieve great things. So he has his finger in every pie and his finger on the pulse of innovation and change. Styliane, welcome.
Hi, Sophia. It's great to be here.
It's lovely to catch up with you after so long. I keep bumping into you, but we never have time for a proper chat. So It's lovely for me to have this opportunity because I think, in a sense, which shows my age, obviously, for me, you were the first serial entrepreneur that I became acquainted with in Cyprus of a certain generation. And I think you're shaping the generation of entrepreneurs in Cyprus and will shape future ones to come. So if you just give me a second to run through your bio. I know this is the bit everyone hates, but we have to do it. So I'm just going to give everybody a little overview of your story. So you're a Limassolian, which is great, brings the conversation closer to home. You studied IT at UCL in London and then entrepreneurship at the University of Cambridge. You started your journey in entrepreneurship at the age of 19. You co-founded Heart Cyprus in 2013, which is still the most highly followed destination brand in Cyprus. And we want to talk a little bit more about that later. And since then, you've been responsible for several ventures under the Heart Group, which you founded with your sister. And it's diversified across various sectors. You're into real estate, hotels, hospitality. You're renovating commercial spaces and residential spaces in Limassol and Athens. And then in 2017, you co-founded the Reflect Festival, which we all now know in Cyprus as sort of the largest technology festival in Cyprus that brings synergies from various people around the world. And then in 2021, you went on to initiate and found TechIsland, which is a non-profit organization with a mission to accelerate growth in the ecosystem. I love that word, the tech ecosystem in Cyprus. And then there's the GovTech company that's helping with software platforms for the government and municipalities, and you're a founding partner at Whitebeam Ventures. So, first question, how old are you?
I am 32, turning 33 in this September.
All right, well, that's a mouthful for a 32-year-old, and that's one of the reasons why you're here. I love the kind of the change that trails behind you. I love that you've almost given Cypriots, young Cypriots, a reason to aspire to be entrepreneurs rather than footballers or models or accountants. You've kind of pumped some passion into something that, as a quintessential entrepreneur, I don't think a lot of people knew what that was a decade ago. So, over to you. Please just tell me a little bit about this journey. What got you into this, I want to say lines of work, and what makes you stay in Cyprus when you could be living anywhere in the world?
Yes. First of all, I'd like to say that I have also a very rich CV in failures. I failed multiple of times the past decade, and I think this is why you succeed in some of the activities. So, like when I graduated in 2014, the first thing I did, I came back to Cyprus because I really love Cyprus, and I think this is where my heart belongs, because Cyprus is the home, and I think we're hardwired to go back home. And yes, and basically your question was why I came back, right? So, like for me, like I knew from very early age that I wanted to come back to Cyprus and contribute to my country. And I remember in my years, in my school's yearbook, I had once, like my ambition was to change the world, and if I fail, at least to change the small corner of my world, which is in that case in Cyprus, and that's what I'm trying to do. So my motivation was intrinsic because I really love my country, and I think Cyprus has to offer so many unique things that other countries can't offer, like for example the UK. I lived in London for 3 years, also 1 year in Cambridge. And in Cyprus, I can do things that I can't do anywhere else. For example, every single day, I take my car, I drive on the seaside road, I go get my coffee, and then go to the office. I don't think you can achieve that in any other country.
So you said 2 key things there. Obviously, you spoke about failure.
Yeah.
Which I think is a beautiful thing, because we grew up in a society in Cyprus that wasn't very welcome to failure back in the day. So it's great to see that change. And also you spoke about your mission, so effectively your purpose. And because you are leading this trend of entrepreneurs, how important do you think that is? Is it something that you would love, if you could, to make sure is part of people's education?
Yes, unfortunately, in Cyprus, we criticize failure, but I thought about it multiple of times. I think the fact that our country was invaded 45 years ago made people to seek security. That's why the trend for the past few years was to find a stable job in the public sector, something that is changing now. I think we need more engineers, but most importantly, I always say that we need more entrepreneurs, because entrepreneurs are the one who take action, who are the doers and can bring real change. And Cyprus had different trends. Like one was the public sector. Then we had like the trend of going and studying accounting or like becoming a lawyer. And I think it's because everyone also, the previous generation was seeking security. We need to admit that it's not easy to be an entrepreneur and it's not for everyone. However, I will encourage everyone to think more entrepreneurial. I think you're thinking entrepreneurial. It's a mindset. And it's okay to be like a 10% entrepreneur, 20% entrepreneur, because for me, entrepreneurship is specific values, and also it's articulated in the name of my group of companies, Heart. And maybe I can share with you why we call it Heart, because it's based on the 3 H's. The first H is the head, because for me the judgment is really important, is where your knowledge comes from, and the decision that you make. And as a group, for us, we want to work on our judgment, and all the people working at Heart, we're working to improve our judgment. So that's the first H. The second H is the heart, because as people we're heart-centered, we act a lot based on our intuition as well, and it's our passion. I believe if you don't love what you do, and if you're not intrinsically motivated, then it's the wrong thing that you're pursuing. And the third one is the hand, which for me the hand symbolizes the giving back. So you give back to your community, to your society, but at the same time, you use your hand to support someone, to lift him up, and shape things. And at Heart, we really like to create impactful ventures, and that's why, for example, our projects in real estate, I call it meaningful real estate, because all of our projects are in the heart of Limassol. We're restoring old buildings, listed buildings. We're reviving the areas. And for me, this is meaningful real estate, which and I think in all the ventures we're doing, we focus on making sure that it's impact driven.
That's amazing. I'm tempted to ask, because I'm sure, and I completely agree with what you said about mindset. I mean, I couldn't possibly do anything that I do if I didn't believe in it, number one. I mean, even in terms of marketing, for me to be able to market a brand or to work for a company, I have to adhere to the company culture. I have to believe in the values of the company, and I have to believe in the brand. I cannot sell something. I mean, maybe that makes me a bad marketeer, but I can't sell something I don't like or believe in. So the emotion behind what you do is something that I find highly admirable. What would you advise to youngsters now who love what you do and look up to you, but maybe are lacking the capital or the avenue to be able to have this independence? Because it's security and comfort zone is something that is driven down through generations. But if you don't feel you have the means, sadly, it makes you lack the confidence.
Yes, like I think we need to be very pragmatic on this one. I think like youngsters, they need to understand in order to be successful, but it's very objective success, how you define success. But you need to put a lot of effort, and it takes time. So they need to work for the long term. And when I say long term, this can be like 10, 15, 20 years. And in Cyprus, when I came back, like many of the business people in Cyprus, they were seeking more of a short-term gains. We have seen that in the past few years. But I think like the first advice, which I don't like to give advices because I think they're influenced by my own biases. But I think the first thing is to have like a long-term mindset, and failure is part of the game. Myself, I'm failing every single day, and that's how I'm improving. And I see as time passes by, like I with less input, I get more output because you learn and you iterate. And I think the best way to learn is by iterating, by doing, and so this is what I believe. And I think in some CVs that we also get at our companies, there's like 10 years of experience, 20 years of experience. But for me, if someone is doing the same thing for 10 years, is not
progress.
It's not progress, right? So you need to do different things. Even if you're working, I don't know, even as an accountant, if you're doing the same thing for 20 years, that's not progress. So like progress is slow, but and you're bleeding every single day as an entrepreneur. But when you win big, and this will delay a bit, but eventually it will come.
See, it's that whole thing of overestimating what we can achieve in a year and underestimating what we can achieve in a decade. And it's mind-boggling because there's so much available to us now on the internet. I mean, that's a quote I got from a podcast that I listened to. There are podcasts available. There's so much self-education out there. There is so much at the fingertips of this generation that we didn't have. I mean, you might have had, I didn't have. But yeah, I mean, we didn't have mobile phones. We didn't have computers at school. So to think now that people can learn from people who have succeeded and failed and take lessons from that is something that's invaluable. So I love this about your website. I had a look, and we love entrepreneurship. For over a decade, we've been building heart-centered companies in multiple sectors, a diversified, heart-centered group, investing in meaningful projects. So there's all these little touches of passion. Now, I imagine things like the Reflect Festival and TechIsland are being formed with like-minded people. So tell us a little bit about the kind of people you're meeting through these ventures of yours.
Yes, so Reflect, we co-founded it back in 2018 with my sister again and my good friend Dusan, who we studied together, but we're also great friends. And it was a very spontaneous decision to organize an event. We didn't know anything about the events back then. So the first event, around 300 people attended, which basically were our friends and family. And it was quite interesting because we brought like-minded people together. And when you bring like-minded people together, like magic happens, and we see that at a bigger scale now at the bigger event that we're doing. And in 2019, we welcomed 2,000 people. In 2020 was the pandemic, so we did a hybrid event, which I'm not a big fan of online events. And in 2021, we welcomed over 3,000 people. And in 2022, last year, we welcomed over 5,000 people. And this year, the event will be on, we'll take it to the next level with over 8,000 attendees, but also the experience will be upgraded even more. And again, like this project for us, because also Dusan and myself and my sister, we're having different activities. Again, like the motivation was intrinsic to support our country and to bring like-minded people together.
The doers.
The doers.
I love that.
Our claim is Doers United. We really believe in the power of doing, because once you start doing things, then you see the progress. And through Reflect, during the pandemic, we had a lot of time, to think, home. So we wanted to create a non-profit, to found a non-profit organization that we attract all the stakeholders of the ecosystem. That's why we came up with the name TechIsland, and I would like to elaborate why we call it TechIsland. With Dusan, and then I invited some other friends like Alexei Kubarev, who is an entrepreneur and founder himself, and a few other people, and we founded TechIsland, which currently represents 300 tech companies based on the island, which employ over 25,000 employees. And we have been helping the government with policy making and introducing new incentives for the tech sector. On our board, we have founders and CEOs of the largest tech companies in Cyprus. And we have also donated over 4 million euro in different initiatives in Cyprus. Some of them were like for crisis relief and some others for ecosystem building activities. And yes, and we call it TechIsland because, in my opinion, we shouldn't copy any other tech ecosystem. We can't be the Silicon Valley, we can't be the Tel Aviv. Cyprus has a unique offering, and we call it TechIsland because we have this up-and-coming tech ecosystem with really interesting companies based on the island with real substance, with over 1,000 employees, 500 employees. And we want to promote more these companies, and the second thing is that we also have a lot of talent, especially after the war on Ukraine. We welcome even more talent from the neighboring countries, and the second part is the island, because literally, we are an island, but for me it's also it's a metaphor because it symbolizes the way of living. Right, that's how I described it previously. In Cyprus, I think you can have really good quality of life. I don't want to mention all the benefits of Cyprus, but the combination of these two is quite unique. At the same time, Cyprus' location is on the crossroads of three continents. I believe one of the emerging markets is the Middle East, and the Middle Eastern companies, eventually they will want access to Europe, and the European companies, they will want access to the Middle East. So Cyprus can be a really good bridge of these two continents, and also Africa, which I think companies, they want to have offices with close proximity to their main activities. So I think Cyprus has this unique offering, and yes, and I believe Cyprus will become the tech island of Europe and will be eventually recognized globally as the tech island.
Are you finding? Because obviously we've got some of these companies coming to move to their offices at Trilogy as well in the coming months. And I just wanted to ask, in terms of the whole process of setting up their companies, headquartering, bringing people over, finding accommodation for them, is that part and parcel of some of your other ventures, or do you leave that to other groups like Invest Cyprus? Are you working collectively? How does it work?
For example, for my real estate activities is not related because we focus on short-term accommodation. For Reflect, obviously, it's a platform that we promote Cyprus. We try to improve the image of Cyprus because we have guests coming from all over the world, and they're really impressed when they come here. They don't believe what they see, really. And through Reflect, we saw many synergies. We saw companies relocating to Cyprus, and we're collaborating with all the governmental entities and to support also their own efforts. So yeah.
I mean, with Reflect, you're basically taking over the town, aren't you? It's become like a bit of a little bit like the Limassol Marathon. When Reflect Festival is on, the whole city of Limassol is taken over by this amazing vibe, and it's something new for us because it's something more young, pioneering, a lot of innovation. So I'm going to have to steer the conversation a little bit because I. In my middle-aged mind, misinterpreted the word tech and for technology.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, Reflect Festival obviously covers a spectrum of topics, which we don't need to go into because I will provide links for all the programs and details. But obviously, there's things like real estate, wellness, mental health, it's all there, which is great. I saw some great presentations last year about human resources and contributing and sustainability, society, all of these things. I wanted to ask you about AI.
Yeah.
Because if anybody can answer my question, it's you. So we know that recently it's Geoffrey Hinton resigned from Google, and he's like known as the godfather of AI. Yeah. And then I was also listening to one of my favorite podcasts, The Diary of a CEO, the other day, and they were interviewing Mo Gawdat, who's the Google X CBO, ex-Google X CBO. Now, he was quoted as actually saying that, I will use a polite word, we messed up, that we released AI out there into the world before we were ready. Something about it being similar to good parenting and bad parenting. He actually went as far as to say, now this is, honestly, I get goosebumps saying it because it freaks me out a little bit. He said, if you haven't had children yet, I would think twice. Because life as we know it, he said, is over. So that's a little bit grim.
Yeah.
And from people like you who are in the know and who are excited about change, how do you interpret all of this recent publicity?
Yes. I've been studying like AI from university. It was something completely new back then. And I understood that the technology is growing exponentially. I mean, I don't know if you're aware of Moore's law, that, like every single year, the technology is evolving on an exponential rate. And I think we're just in the start. We're going to see like more advancements year after year. And for me, AI, personally, I'm using it on a daily basis. I think technology, including AI, fundamentally, like it helps you with less input to get more output, right? So like I was also listening a podcast recently, and they were saying that the first, we're going to see in the next few years, the first $1 billion company that is founded by operated by just 3 persons. Before you had, in order to build $1 billion company, you needed thousands of people. Then like few hundreds. For example, Instagram was sold for $1 billion just with 14 employees, and now we'll be at a stage that we'll be able to build $1 billion companies with just 3 people, and the fourth, let's say, stakeholder will be technology and AI. I think also even the founder of OpenAI admitted that we don't know. This might be also dangerous for the next years, but I think personally I'm more positive. I think technology throughout the years, because we need to understand what technology is. For me, technology is something that is new, and it hasn't gone mainstream. For example, fire was technology one day. It was something completely disruptive, like thousands of years ago. And computers were like a technology, or even cars, right? Cars was a technology back then, and now it's something we're using every single day. I believe also with AI, it's a bit unknown now, like any other technology we had in the past 100 years, or thousands years. And eventually I think people, they will use it for the good, for good purposes. But at the same time, obviously, there are some like they will use it for misuse it as well. But I'm quite positive because I think also with technology, like it's helping us to live a better life. Just think that we have the access to information, like more access than the president of the US had like 10, 15 years ago. With $10, we can eat food made by a chef, delivered to your doorstep. You have your own personal chauffeur with apps like Uber. And 30 years ago, to have your own chauffeur, you had to be an aristocrat or like super rich.
Medical, hospitals.
Medical, access to information. I think I see technology as a power of good rather than evil.
If it's used correctly, I think. And I think that was going to be my ultimate question on, because in other countries, they're saying, governments need to start thinking about taking measures, not just to regulate it, but when people start losing jobs, what next? Yeah. So I think, I would assume this is the kind of advancement that we can rely on people like you to figure out for us all. But I think in Cyprus, I think we all have, we've seen a rapid change over the pandemic. We've had to rely on technology to digitize, to progress. So hopefully, with all of this change, we can put ourselves on a similar pace as the rest of the world. Yeah. You're positive that that's doable, are you?
Yes, I'm positive.
You're going to drive it.
Yeah, I'm not, like also an AI expert. I'm not involved in AI, but I believe that technology companies are the one who will help, the world to move forward. And these companies are driven by entrepreneurs. Like 50 years ago, the entrepreneurs, I call them business people. They were doing things like, let's say, like oil. They were in the like producing oil or these kind of businesses. But I think in the past 20 years, we've seen entrepreneurs, which are motivational, is intrinsic, and they really want to have impact. And I can name few, like from Elon Musk to the founders of Google, etc. So I think these people, they will try to improve the world rather than destroying it.
Entrepreneurs, you're not necessarily all managers and leaders. How involved are you in the business? Are you there the whole time? I ask after seeing you come in with your mobile.
Yes, I think it's not an indicator of success if you're too busy.
Yeah.
Currently, I'm too busy, unfortunately. However, we're constantly hiring people in order to, also give them the opportunity to grow. And because also in my company, we need people that are better than us as well. So
identifying that you can't do everything, so bringing in skill.
And I think the main traits that we're looking for, like for me, accountability is really, really important. And in Cyprus, I think we're started to improve that more. I always say that whenever I go to a restaurant and I complain about something, the first thing they tell me is that, okay, I will tell it to the manager, right? True. They don't take this accountability on them. Also, we see this in politics and other parts of the society. So accountability is really important, and also to have really good judgment. So
you see, everything you've mentioned today goes back to mentality, and I think I certainly feel that I've seen a lot of change over the last couple of decades. So it's looking more positive, and obviously there's a lot of international influence as well now. What do you think when you're talking to people or these founders, entrepreneurs that come from abroad? What is their view of Cyprus? When they just arrive, are they well educated, or is it a struggle to get them to engage?
Few of them, of the companies, the founders of companies who are based here, they're in Cyprus for the past 20 years. Okay. And they love Cyprus equally or maybe more than we love our own country. And I think Cyprus is becoming inclusive, because as a country we're always welcoming. I think is one of the traits of Cypriots. And Cyprus is becoming very inclusive, very cosmopolitan, especially our city like Limassol, and they really love it. They have never lived similar lifestyle, and Cyprus offers them a great way of living, that they can work, they can play, they can innovate from here, they can raise their families. But at the same time, there are a lot of challenges. Like, for example, in Limassol, we don't have enough schools. We don't have enough residential units. some people complain about this, but for me, this is an opportunity, right? This is an opportunity. It indicates growth for Cyprus. And yes, and I think these companies and the tech sector is building wealth. Because in Cyprus, unfortunately, we were a very status-driven society. You know, like we go to football games and we fight. We literally like fight with each other. Or politics, you know, like they're winners, they're losers. But in entrepreneurship and mainly the tech sector, it's it's building wealth. And when you build wealth, wealth is for everyone. All these tech companies, also like companies like Cybarco, by building a nice project, it creates a lot of positive externalities for the society. And unfortunately, we haven't understood that yet. So I think we need to be happy because all these activities that are happening in Cyprus indicate growth, and I think we haven't seen the growth yet. Of course, there are some challenges with the high rentals. However, the main issue is that we need to accelerate the governmental processes. Because myself, I currently have 5 projects that I'm waiting permissions for the past 2-3 years. And just by giving the permissions faster, you increase the supply. It's a basic economic idea that is demand and supply, right? So I think, like the government should also incentivize more investors, like to invest more, so to increase the supply. So I think it's that's how we're gonna also stabilize and bring the market to correct the market with the rental prices.
One common goal so that we can work together. I mean, the benefit, we talk about it all the time. It's just a case of doers. We need more doers. So tell me just a little bit about the hotel renovations and Workin Spaces. It'd be good to understand what the purpose behind those was.
Yeah, so in real estate, in our portfolio, we have also 5 listed buildings that we're restoring. They are the harder properties to renovate. For example, Heart Hotel, which is close from this studio. It took us 4 years to get the planning permission and 18 months to deliver it. We're finishing it now in the next 10 days. It's called Heart Hotel. So we're creating also our own brands. We operated them ourselves. They are quite small hotels. Heart Hotel Limassol is just 11 rooms, but we invested a lot in the experience of the guest. And also we have a quite unique view of the Church of Hagia Triada.
Oh, nice.
And Heart Hotels will focus on basically we're restoring historic buildings and converting them into hotels. Then we have some other brands that will be announced soon in the hospitality sector, offering short-term and flexible rentals in Limassol and also in Athens. And Workin Spaces, we started it with a really good friend of mine, Yorgos from Greece, who we have together a venture studio. So we decided to start with a co-working space because we can find talent at these spaces. So we have one in Athens and one in Limassol. In Athens it's around 700 square meters, but in Limassol it's quite small. It's just 200 square meters for now, but we want to expand it. And it's located in the Limassol Agora. And for me also, it was quite interesting for this project because currently it's fully booked. And my goal is to bring more people to the old city to work from here. You know, there are a lot of challenges like parking again and a few others. And I'm a big believer that Limassol city center should become a pedestrian street. I think by fixing the roads, you're creating more problems because you attract more cars. And we need to have less cars
and more parking.
Yes, and more exactly more parking. So we need to like any European city, right? My personal vision and ambition is that I can contribute to that, working with the local authorities in order to encourage this project. And I think many of the other investors and also real estate developers are supporting this idea.
It's amazing now. You walk through Limassol and there's people on scooters with their little
Yeah,
backpacks and there's car sharing.
Yes.
It's amazing how much things have changed. I
Yeah.
love it. I mean, we also recently released some residences, an apartment block near Molos. And of course, that was targeting the young entrepreneurs and the gaming companies, the tech companies, because these are Europeans who come here and have a different expectation of life.
Yeah.
They don't want to be in a neighborhood near the highway with a big garden. They want a nice self-contained little studio with their scooter, easy access, and they're more, how can I say, they're more self-sufficient in the sense that it's like they will go onto the internet and decide which beaches to visit. They're very proactive. So it's lovely to see that community growing.
The most interesting thing about our projects, we have currently 15 projects in a diameter of 500 meters. So we're creating a lot of synergies between the buildings. Yes, I really enjoy doing that.
You need to build something for like a student accommodation for people my age who don't have children or a family, but it can be quite lonely. You know, I know a lot of people as well who are, you know, divorced or separated now, and they miss company, they miss having company, and it would be great to have the possibility of living in something that's more of a community rather than stuck on your own in an apartment or a house somewhere.
I think loneliness is a big issue.
Well,
we don't talk about it a lot, but I think it's affecting a lot of our mental health. So I think cities should bring the people together, should design also everything around the city in a democratic way. You know, so I think projects like Molos and the Old Port, where we're doing also our event, is bringing people together. And I was reading also recently, actually I reread it because it was an amazing book. I got it from Dubai. It's called Sheikh CEO. That basically, the Sheikh said, let's build it and people will come, right? So I think this is the same what's happening in Limassol also with the Molos. Everyone was saying, I remember that, but who's gonna walk there? Who's gonna use the Molos?
Wow.
But now it's
can't even imagine
packed with
life
people,
without it.
You know, every single day. So
So let's talk a little bit then about your vision and predictions for Cyprus, not just in terms of entrepreneurship, but on a general level. Are you feeling? Obviously, you're feeling quite positive, but how do you think things are going to pan out in the next 5 years?
First of all, I think we need a CEO to run the country and also the cities. I think politicians, they have a different kind of management style. For example, also, you can't fire anyone in the government. And I think there are great people working with the government, but some parts of the government are really broken. It's affecting business, it's affecting also the citizens. So the first thing I would like to see in the next, let's say, decade is that we have someone more entrepreneurial, someone who's a CEO for the country. That's the one thing I'll say. The second one, I think, is inevitable. It will happen. We'll become a tech island. We'll have even more companies. Just the past year, we welcomed over 5,000 talent in Cyprus, and also a lot of them in Limassol. The one is the leader of the country. The second one, I think, will definitely become a tech hub. And this tech, the tech sector will support all the other sectors of the economy, the tourism sector, the real estate sector, and the services sector. The third thing, I believe that Cyprus, what will happen in the next, let's say, 10 years, in terms of 10 years, I think will be recognized globally as a destination to visit. We see projects also like the casino and the Lanidis Green and a few other projects in Limassol, but also all over Cyprus. So I think Cyprus will become a destination, but we need more connection flights. So I think one of the things we need to do is to increase our connectivity to neighboring countries, and not only. I think if we had a direct flight to the US, and from the US to Cyprus, we're gonna have a lot of Americans because Americans, whenever they're here, they love Cyprus because, for example, we would take, for example, our city Limassol. it's a coastal metropolis. It's something between a town and a metropolis. So I think these are the three of the predictions, I would say. Let's see.
You've answered two questions in one.
In the next 10 years. I think also the locals, the Limassolians, will be able to afford an apartment on the 18th floor of a building. This will be inevitable because then developers they will become even more sophisticated. For example, Cybarco, you have built like Trilogy. So the next project you leverage on the skills and the judgment that you and the mistakes maybe you have done, and also I think the supply will increase, and eventually the Cypriot who buys a 450 or 400,000 euro apartments in a 3 floors building, eventually they will buy it on the 18th floor. So I think Cypriots should be a bit more patient, because they consider as side effects, but I think these side effects eventually will support the locals. And I think we also need to be more proud of our country. And when you go to the Middle East, like in Saudi or UAE or Qatar, the locals are the most respected. And sometimes, the foreigners respect us, but we don't respect ourselves. So we need to respect more, I believe, ourselves, and be more proud for our country, and don't complain, because negative energy
at least
is
if you're going to complain,
yeah.
It's good to have a solution for a problem rather than just sit and mull over
and
it.
there is a very famous poem by Kavafis, Ipolis, which means the city, which the hero of the poem was really devastated, and he was complaining that the city he lives in is really bad, etc. But when he left and he went to another city, he realized that the problem wasn't the city. The city was himself.
Yes.
All the problems, he carried all the problems wherever yes. So the problem, I believe, is not, Cyprus, Limassol. It's ourselves. And I see a lot of people that are complaining that even now, in Cyprus, where there are no any jobs, But okay, I encourage them to go to London and try to get a job there,
or create
and become a manager in London, because we're looking also for managerial jobs. But I think it's fine to start from the bottom. This is how you're gonna learn. So I also encourage the youngsters, if they want to work for someone, go and start from the bottom, because you will improve even further. So.
Tell me then, if you had to describe Cyprus in 3 words, what it means to you. What are those 3 words? Yeah.
Interesting. So I can tell you one word. I think the one word that means a lot. There's so many other words around it. For me, Cyprus is home. And what is home? Home, I think, is where your heart belongs, and it belongs here. My memories, my childhood, my family, my friends, and I think, the one word is home. And that's why I think also I put all of my heart for Cyprus, because it's my home. And I think that one word can say a lot. What about you? What's your...
Yeah, I think the same for me as well, because most of us and most of the people that I speak to here, obviously we've been on a journey.
Yeah.
We could have all had a quite a happy, fulfilled life elsewhere, but it's that difference between being satisfied that you've succeeded and you've ticked all the boxes, and that art of fulfillment, which is just the feeling that you're where you want to be. Because at the end of the day, we can travel, we can leave Cyprus whenever we want, but if you don't have that sense of fulfillment, that you're living a life that's true to yourself and the people you love, it's all a little bit pointless, isn't it? So true. I think for me as well, it would be home. And I didn't want to close this podcast without asking about your sister, because your relationship must be quite magical, because you've done all of this together.
Yes, so we started when I was 19, my sister was 20.
You're not twins. I was going to say you must be twins.
Actually,
you're so well connected.
1.5 years older than me. So we started our first venture, Hard Cyprus, together, and also a media company we had. And then we started investing our first profits together in real estate. And yes, and we are very close together. I'm very close with my family, like also with my parents. Also, both of my parents, they are entrepreneurs. And
I was going to say, how did that happen?
Because and also our parents, they encourage us to fail from a young age. And I think like I'm grateful that I grew up with with this with my parents. And my sister is we have really, really good relationship.
It's lovely, that, isn't it? The sense of acceptance is now that I have a niece, obviously, I'm watching how selfish, quote unquote, children are, because they think the whole world revolves around them. So when something's going wrong and you reprimand them, they think that it's their fault, that there's something wrong with them, and that's how insecurities build. So to have parents that are accepting no matter what you do, and they don't sort of single you out for failing, is something that is quite invaluable, actually, and I feel quite grateful for that as well. So I want to say, I wish I could say actually that we've got another hour, but we don't. So I just want to say thank you very much, because I find you represent everything that's really kind of like hopeful about Cyprus and change. And I would encourage anybody to just kind of switch to the doer mode, because at the end of the day, we're here for one short life, aren't we? And it's a case of, if you think you can't do something, just try and see what happens.
Exactly.
So thank you very much.
Thank you, Sophia, for inviting me. Thank you.
I would like to say that we've got more episodes coming up this summer, of course, and please don't forget to follow and subscribe. And I'm going to put links to the Heart Group and Heart Cyprus and all the other amazing things we've been talking about today on the podcast. Thank you very much for joining us. See you for the next episode.
Destination Cyprus, brought to you by Cybarco.